the present state of the world is very serious in terms of its health and how the health relates to us. I think we have to understand something here, and that is that the earth can deteriorate and ultimately lose its life-giving forces, and it can change and become barren, or it can change and become snow. It has its own direction. It has its own will and ability, and we're part of that. And so right now, I see two big areas of concern. Some time back, when Einstein was asked a question about what is the most powerful law of the universe, he said it was the law of compound. And I pondered that, and I said, compound, what does that actually mean? And I really thought about it and have been thinking about it lately, and I come to the conclusion that it's kind of like an explosion in reverse. It starts slow and ends fast, where an explosion starts fast and ends slow. So compound, we're in two that I see. And one is a compound of the ice melting, and the other is a compound of human population. Both are moving and accelerating. Both are under their own direction. It doesn't seem like there's a control factor here for either one. Certainly the ice melt is something beyond our control at the moment, because what it takes the instruction of the peacemaker to be of one mind. He said, when you're of one mind, the power of the good mind can change anything. And so we have to somehow get to that point of unity of thought and direction and effort. And if we can do that, we certainly can mitigate what's going on now. When we're concerned is for the children and their grandchildren and their children. Peacemaker said, that we're responsible and that we should be always watching. And so I think what he's saying and the instruction is correct and could happen. America is isolated from the world, both in thought and conduct, size, oceans. And in that isolation, it's heavily involved in what's going on inside America. Like, for instance, and I'm part of that too, because this weekend, Syracuse University just won the Big East title. Well, I'm an alumni of Syracuse, and so I enjoyed that. But this whole country is fixed on the idea of sports. It's fixed on the idea of distractions and human titillation, if you will, or whatever it may be. And they're not looking at the large pictures. And they've become insulated against the realities of the world. Even our poor people in the U.S. would be wealthy in any other part of the world. I mean, poor people in America have television sets. That's not the way it is in the rest of the world. And we're just maybe 1/5 of the population of the whole world, and yet we're using 1/4 of all the resources. I know Vice President Cheney said, well, if we're creating 1/4 of the energy of the world, then it's just right for us to use 1/4 of the resources. Well, that kind of thinking is very destructive. So I think we have to adjust and be alert and aware. We have to get a message to the people, and they have to understand the seriousness of this situation right now, this compounding of human population. Lester Brown, who's recognized as one of the great scientists of the world concerning environment, and interest, said that in 1950 there was 2.5 billion people in the world. 2000, there were 6 billion. So in that short time, we almost doubled, tripled the population of the world. That's not sustainable. That is not sustainable. You can't do that. But we are. And that's a reality. Who knows that? Who thinks about that? I heard Ted Turner say that one time. He says, well, in my lifetime, I've seen this population double. And you think about that. It took 4 million years to get to that point. It takes something like 50 years to do it twice. No, that don't work. And so that's what we're facing in the world today. We have China, who has 1 billion people, more, 1.3, I think, maybe probably more by this time. India, which has 1 billion people. Just the two of them are 1/3 of the population of the world. And they're busy.
Yeah, we started out with that. You talked about the destroying of nature. And just what have your council said about the state of the world? Has this been predicted? What were the signs? And have the signs occurred? Have things come to pass that you've been predicting?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's interesting, that Indian nations have what they call prophecies. But also the Bible has prophecies. And people have had prophecies all the time. Seems to be part of human nature. And these prophecies, currently we're working on organizing them. And as I studied them, I come to the conclusion they're not so much prophecies as they are instructions of conduct. And the prophecies being that this will happen if you don't do this, or this will happen if you drop this. So it always leaves the option to the present. It always leaves the option to the current generation. And I think that's the importance of these prophecies. Now, we've had three major events for the Haudenosaunee. One was the first time when we were given the instructions of how to live, which some people would call religion or ceremonies. And that was long ago. We're not sure exactly when, but we do know the process, and we knew what happened, how it happened. That was very, very, very long ago. And then somehow we got lost, personally. The 5 nations, and began this fighting. And then we had the second instruction or support, and that was the coming of the peacemaker, spiritual being, who gave us this great idea of democracy and organized our thoughts in that direction. And I mentioned earlier that he gave this responsibility of raising the leaders to the women. He also instructed us on the importance of clans. So I think this relationship is important. People should understand the relationship between us and the natural world. And we love that so much that we have taken on the symbol of our relatives. And so, as you see, I'm wearing the symbol of the turtle. Well, the turtle also represents North America, the Great Turtle Island. And it's a symbol of longevity and of strength. And so we have a turtle clan. And yet I told you I'm a wolf. So we have a relative of a wolf. And the deer, and the bear, and the eel, and the hawk, and the beaver, snipe, all of these. And the different nations have different clans sometimes. I'm just astonished by the amount of clans that the Hopis have and the amount of clans that the Navajos have. They have a wind clan. They have just about whatever you could think of. There's a clan but it's all related to nature. And so that's how we see ourselves. And a wolf is a wolf, is a wolf. And so I'm always mindful of what's happening to my four-footed brother. And we were instructed to watch that and to see, because they said whatever happens to him is going to happen to you. And so how we treat these animals who are doing what they do in kind of a they live in a state of grace. They don't do anything wrong. They just do what they do, and they do their best to do it, in spite of everything and everything. They continue. So in New York City, as we sit here, pretty quick now, there's going to be hawks flying through here, and certainly the geese are flying. And this is an old flyway right here. They used to stop here all the time. They still fly. They still go by here because it's an old rule, an old law. It goes on. It's just that you don't see them. But they are doing their best to continue. And so it's like that around everywhere. And we have to understand this relationship. And so we have that. And it brings us closer. And it helps us to respect better how they serve with us and how life works. Quite a while back, maybe 150 years ago, Chief Seattle said something that was very profound. Said a lot that was very profound. But one thing he said was, we are part of a web of life, and every strand is important, and that what befalls one part will befall the other. And so this is what we don't seem to understand or comprehend, is this web of life that we live in, and how interdependent we are.